What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another bodybuilding news video. And today we're discussing Hadi Choopan. Is he confirmed in for the 2020 Mr Olympia? We've got all the news on that. Roelly Winklaar 2 weeks out, looking crazy. We've got a physique update from him. William Bonac 9 weeks out. We've got a photo from him because we haven't seen anything since. Plus Breon Ansley 2 weeks out, looking absolutely insane. But let's start with Roelly Winklaar. So he released this physique update on his Instagram page, and you got to say he's looking pretty crazy by this video. He looks in condition, which is a great sign as well, because not all the guys are absolutely, in this sort of condition at 2 weeks out. Now, this is in the famous magic mirror, which everyone talks so much about, but you can't fake it too much. So he's obviously looking crazy, and post-training, you can look absolutely crazy, especially with that lighting there as well. But I've got to say, he looks pretty damn conditioned, and I'm pretty excited about, I suppose, the prospect of Roelly Winklaar potentially doing really well and placing him at top 3 at the 2020 Mr Olympia potentially. Now, he's not my pick to be in the top 3 because we have seen obviously crazy versions of Roelly. We always see the pictures released about 2 weeks out, but we get to see a video this time, which I think instills a little bit more confidence, but you still obviously got to be skeptical about how he'll exactly show up on stage. But this looks like an on-stage Roelly Winklaar to me. So if he can get that a little bit harder even on top of this and get those deep lines in his chest and his shoulders and really that granny sort of look, as you can see like William Bonac on the actual Mr Olympia post or what he has here, if Roelly can get even close to that, obviously Roelly has more muscle, he'll be able to do really, really well. And I know obviously Roelly and William Bonac are friends, and I've seen them training together as well in the past. But Roelly really needs to get some of that sort of William Bonac conditioning, and if he can do that, he can win the 2020 Mr Olympia. That's how big and good Roelly Winklaar actually is. So I'm encouraged by this recent physique update. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Can Roelly win the 2020 Mr Olympia? Is it a possibility? Let me know. Now, our next story, William Bonac released this photo on his Instagram page, and I think some people have seen this and gone, oh, William's isn't in good condition, I suppose, as he normally is. But this is actually from approximately 9 weeks out. He said this is actually in the 3rd week of October, which would put it around 9 weeks out that this photo was actually taken. And for 9 weeks out, he's in pretty damn good conditioning. Now, William Bonac even said when I interviewed him, his friends take photos of him and they go like, man, this does you no credit. So William Bonac is, I think, more than happy to go under the radar from a small little conversation I actually had with him. So I actually think he enjoys that. So I'm excited to see how William Bonac shows up. And he is literally such a dark horse for such a good competitor. A guy who won the Arnold Classic this year. He came second in the 2 biggest shows last year. So he was knocking on the door from the start of this year, last year. And can he go one better, actually win the 2020 Olympia? Let me know in the comments below on that as well, because I think he's being massively overlooked. In our next story, we have Iain Valliere at 2 weeks out, looking absolutely crazy. Now, this dude won the New York Pro earlier in the year, but it wasn't without controversy. People talked about it and said maybe he shouldn't have won that show. Maybe a Justin Rodriguez, maybe a Max Charles or someone else should have won that show. But he came out on top, and from people that were actually there, I suppose they spoke more highly of Iain. And Iain has a really big structure, and I think people see, maybe the chest isn't quite where it needs to be, or the back isn't quite where it needs to be, and they sort of hang a lot on Iain. But I think when you see him in person, by at least what I've heard, and he looks, as you can see here, he looks absolutely crazy. He's just an absolutely different animal. It's sort of the same thing as Jay Cutler had back when he competed, until you see him in person. I saw him in person at a guest posing weeks after an Olympia. He's walking backstage, and you don't realize how wide Jay Cutler is until you see that man in person. He just doesn't even look like a human being because he's that wide across the shoulders for a shorter sort of dude. But I think Iain Valliere is looking really good this far out. I think it's probably going to be the best or one of Iain's best packages, and I hope to see that too, because he's a guy that could potentially place him at top 10 if he does bring his absolute best to the stage. And it's a good Olympia. I mean, it really bats deep down to about really, really deep down to 8th, where you got outstanding competitors that in any other year might place top 5, and it's crazy that we're actually missing a few competitors this year through injury, like Flex Lewis and Sean Roden through other issues and stuff as well. So I mean, 2021 could be absolutely crazy, especially if we've got a potential comeback from Kai Green. Add a few of those guys in there. I mean, the top 10 is going to be stacked top to bottom, where any of those guys could sort of move around, so that's super exciting. Now, another guy, Rickey Moten, he actually tagged me on these photos on Instagram, and I left him out of my top 10 for my Classic Physique early predictions, and it might have not been that wise because Rickey's looking pretty damn good, and his back is crazy right now. So I can't wait to see how Rickey Moten comes in at that 2020 Classic Physique Olympia, and I hope he proves me wrong and places in that top 10, and I might actually have to revise those picks when I actually put in my final picks, and he might be sneaking there, he might not. I'll have to go over the names and decide on that later. Now, Hadi Choopan, now this is a story that most people are probably pretty interested in with this video. The Mr. Olympia released a photo and it basically has Hadi Choopan right in the middle and says who you got. So I think that's an indicator that they're pretty confident that Hadi's going to be allowed into, obviously, the United States. I believe he's actually in the United Arab Emirates right now, so he's making his plans to get to the US. So fingers crossed for Hadi Choopan, but he actually gets into the US and is able to compete in that 2020 Mr. Olympia, because without him, obviously, it moves quite a few guys up a spot, which some guys might be happy about, but I think everyone wants to see the best Mr. Olympia lineup. We don't want to see guys held out because of what country they're from or anything like that. Now, Sean Ray actually posted this up as well about a few hours ago, and I think this is the first I've actually seen anyone from the actual Olympia crew, or at least involved in the Olympia, post anything about Hadi being confirmed in. So I think this is positive news that Sean's basically saying that he's not saying he's confirmed, but he's saying he's going to be there. So I think that's actually really exciting. I don't think Sean would post that without any extra insider knowledge. So I think Hadi Choopan will be allowed. If I'm making a prediction, he will be allowed into the US, and I think he will compete at the 2020 Mr. Olympia. But let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you know anything extra on that as well, because I have no extra knowledge apart from obviously what I've seen posted. In our last story, Breon Ansley at 2 weeks out, looking crazy good in his side chest. I think it's improved a lot, this shot for him, because he's just so damn lean at this point. Probably a little bit flat, but he's going to be able to fill out a little bit more once he does the weigh-ins. But you can tell in his face, he's absolutely killing himself to get down in weight for this classic physique Olympia. And it's going to be interesting if Breon is able to win his title back. Does he go through this same thing next year where he has to suffer and absolutely kill himself and do these crazy amounts of posing or not? I have no idea. I don't know if the body can even handle that year in and year out, what Chris Cormier is doing to Breon Ansley over there in California. But I cannot wait to see what actually happens at this classic physique Olympia. And it's probably my second most exciting class. I mean, normally it's for 212s, but I suppose that's really exciting as well, with Kamal El-Gagni trying to defend the title against guys like Angel Calderon, Derek Lunsford, Sean Clarita, a whole bunch of names there. So I'm really excited for every class pretty much at the Olympia, especially across the men's divisions, but even the women's are pretty exciting as well. So cannot wait to actually see what happens. But as interesting, I actually interviewed Dani Younan, who's actually come in the top 10 the last 2 years at the Olympia. He placed 6th and 7th the last 2 years. He won a pro show last year against a pretty good lineup actually as well, and that's how he qualified for this year's Mr. Olympia in the classic physique. And he had something pretty interesting to say, because he actually approaches things very different to a Breon Ansley, where he is actually under the weight cap by a bit, and he's actually had to grow up into the classic physique, and he actually does the opposite. He really doesn't kill himself, does very little cardio or none, and Breon Ansley's doing the absolute opposite, and he had something to say about it, so I'll play that for you guys now.
Here I am, man, like just relaxing. I wake up in the morning, I'm not doing any cardio. Like today I woke up, no cardio. I had my first meal, I did legs, I came home, just relax for the rest of the day. I don't have to do anything. Yeah. Where the other guys is they wake up, they do hour cardio, they eat, they go to the gym, they come back, they go to the gym. I mean, they come back, they eat, they go to the gym again for cardio, they do posing, they do all that. It's just exhausting, man.
Yeah, that sounds like Breon
that's not
right now. Breon Ansley said he's doing hours of posing a day, hours of cardio, training, and I know his weight cap, he's still got like 6-7 pounds to go. Yeah. So yeah, it's craziness.
Well, obviously that's what happens when you gain 20-25 pounds on off season trying to get big. Why would you want to gain 20-25 pounds on off season, and then when it's contest time, you're going to be suffering? It's not only bad for your health, but also bad for your mentally.
So there's Dani Younan. Obviously has a very different approach to Breon Ansley, but Breon Ansley has added all that muscle in the off-season. I think Dani was sort of indicating about guys like Breon Ansley, and maybe him specifically. I'm not too sure. I didn't actually crack down and ask him exactly on that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and how do you approach your contest prep if you prep? Do you more, I suppose, go on the Dani Younan side of things, or are you more like Breon Ansley and absolutely murder yourself with hours upon hours of training and cardio, which for a lot of people probably isn't even realistic if you've got a full-time job? So let me know what you think in the comments about all these topics. Do you think Hadi Choopan will compete in the 2020 Mr. Olympia? What do you think about Roelly Winklaar and how he's going to do, plus all the other topics I discussed as well? And if you guys like and appreciate this content, please give this a thumbs up and smash that like button. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills, at Desktop Bodybuilding. And go to hostile.com, HOSSTILE.com. Enter ZAVE10, it's XAV10. You'll save yourself 10% on some amazing supplements. You can check out all the flavors. They've got got great bubblegum now in Hostility, which is their famous pre-workout product as well. So just go there and check it out. The link is in the description of this video. So that's it for me. Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. We are out.